Tucker Carlson potentially finds himself in a little bit of an issue because it has been repeatedly demonstrated that he not only despises Donald Trump, but he despises the people who love Donald Trump. In fact, there's a great article up right now at the New York Times. 5 times Tucker Carlson privately reviled Trump. So this is not one text message, this is not one conversation. Over and over and over again, he makes clear that what he pretends to believe in public means nothing to him. He's lying. In these quotes, some of which we've already shown you, he attacks Trump's political strategy, his effect on the Republican Party, his business history, says he's failed in every business he's ever started, him not going to the inauguration, and he is overall desperate for Trump to lose power over the GOP, which if you're a MAGA person is the last thing you want. Well, that is the goal of Tucker Carlson. However, Tucker Carlson really, really likes being rich, and he doesn't have any other monetizable skills. He needs to maintain his audience. And so the work of trying to get his reputation back has already begun. Take a look at these sots from last night with Tucker Carlson sucking up to Donald Trump.
You wouldn't know it from watching the news media, but Donald Trump is running for president again. They don't put him in prison first, which of course their plan. And he's saying things that are really interesting, not rehashes at all. In fact, he's come out with a bunch of proposals that were so interesting that we thought we would bring them to you. More babies, prettier buildings, cleaner parks. Well, those are achievable goals. Ones would improve everyone's life.
He hates having to say these things. It wasn't like, hey, Tucker, give me a spontaneous, extemporaneous 5 minutes on how great Trump is to save your reputation. They wrote that for him. He was reading off a teleprompter and it was still dripping with disdain and boredom and frustration, having to pretend that Donald Trump has come up with interesting ideas. So interesting that we have to highlight them suspiciously after I've been revealed to be a complete fraud.
The West started the war and we used force in order to stop it.
If there is any single American who deserves scorn and yes, blame for the invasion of Ukraine, it would be Joe Biden.
The Ukrainian people have become hostages of their Western masters.
Ukraine is not a democracy. It's a client state of the Biden administration.
The US were training on the future theater of military actions by owning biological laboratories in Ukraine.
Military biological programs are under development in Ukraine, financed by the US Defense Ministry.
Western countries were setting military bases on our border.
The Russians don't want American missiles on their border. They don't want a hostile government next door.
NATO took specific actions, expansions to our borders.
Getting Ukraine to join NATO was the key to inciting war with Russia.
The elites of the West are not hiding their goals. They are trying to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia.
The Biden administration wanted all along a regime change war against Russia.
The initiators of the sanctions are punishing themselves.
So it's not Vladimir Putin who's getting punished, it's American citizens. It's you.
The West provoked the growth of prices in their own countries, collapse of energy sector.
Gas prices are already the highest they have ever been in history. So the price of natural gas and the price of electricity and food and everything else you buy. I think we should probably take the side of Russia if we have to choose between Russia and Ukraine. That is my view. We're on Putin's side.
He really is. He really is, you guys. And look, it is fine to make these points as an individual, as like someone who is analyzing the situation. It is very different to use almost the exact same language as the Russian government uses on your primetime Fox News cable show that is one of the most watched in the nation. And that is what is directly being fed into the American people every single night. He's parroting, Biden started it. It was the NATO expansion, exactly. It was the biological weapons. The American citizens are the ones who have been punished, right? Now, to be honest with you, I think there's a shred of reality in the ways that how could the Biden administration, how could the Trump administration, how could the Obama administration have taken steps to de-escalate any kind of hostilities with Russia to get to the point where we wouldn't have necessarily this invasion? I don't know. Again, Russia invaded Ukraine, y'all. Russia invaded Crimea first in 2014. So but it's fine to ask questions. It's very different to literally parrot what Putin is saying, and it sends chills down my spine because I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be some money on the table here.
I'm trying to figure it out too, because this is the thing, and it's been across the board. I mean, it's not just Tucker Carlson. We saw it from the beginning, as these talking points were hitting. And it's the sad part. What I think, this is at least my speculation, it's still strictly based off of normal American presidential politics. So once Donald Trump was saying, "You guys know, if I was still in office, this stuff would have never happened," and then they have to now parrot that and say that because all they're worried about is then trying to reinsert their folks back into office so they can continue to carry out whatever policies that strip certain Americans of their rights, but then also help benefit other certain Americans financially over others and put this into place in that law. And they don't go even further than that. So even when it comes to an international conflict, who cares about understanding it? Who cares about actually telling the truth about how it started? All we care about is, since Trump is not in office anymore, here's an opportunity. This is not a well thought out intellectual argument. This is an opportunity for me to use this to then push my same home American political points to my audience so they can maybe vote a certain way. It starts and ends there, and it's the saddest part about this. And for folks who do understand it and then try and tell you the differences and the problems and the reasons behind the maybe America's part in this to a degree, then they go, "Oh my God, I don't understand that stuff," or they just don't listen to it because we're too busy then talking about, well, if Trump was in office, Putin would be shaking in his boots. What kind of analysis is that? Who knows that? Did you interview Vladimir and be like, and Vladimir told me, and my name is Joe Schmo in Alabama, that he would be totally scared if Trump was still in office. He never would have done this. Probably wouldn't have, because he wouldn't want to disrupt his presidency and have all these arguments happening while he's there because he was his parrot. We saw it happen in Helsinki.